Good morning, everyone. I am so blessed today to not be surrounded by one, not two, but three and four beautiful, beautiful energies that are with me today at my round table. Um, Today we get together in even more of a celebration than just to speak easy. We celebrate the divine feminine energy, and something that we've been really framing in our language here in I Am Love is understanding the feminine and the male energies that are within both of us. Well, when we awaken to those energies and we have a purpose and a vision with those energies, really, really phenomenal things can be created. And so today, when we come together with this light and love, we are ready to create a space to speak easy with four beautiful, divine, feminine, awakened energies that are experiencing their empowerment in different parts of our world, doing very, very different things with their lives. So, as I enter this space, I couldn't ask for anything more than this moment. And I ask that each and every one of you that are sharing at our table and gathering around to just send some really good vibes as we begin this talk and speak easy with love. At this moment, I'd like to step out of the center and gather us all around and have each and every one of you just give us a little introduction and share with us who you are and why you are showing up today and what it is about being a woman you are embracing in this very moment now. Janice, would you like to get us started?
Thank you, Joanna. This is amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Janice McQueen Ward. I am an author, a podcast host, and a pageant and empowerment coach. And my mission in life is to empower girls and women to find their purpose by developing their past into their present, taking their pain and making it their purpose, and
Mm.
helping them grow through it all and to heal through that. And that is my mission. And
Ooh,
I'm
that gives
excited
me
to be here
chills.
today. And I think
Yes,
it's so much
yes.
part of who I am because I too have gone through so much trauma and pain in my life, and having overcome that and having that voice and that heart and that light to share that with others, that is my mission on this earth and as a woman. And I feel as someone who has I am a wife, I am a mother, I am a businesswoman, and I'm a friend. And so with Women's History Month this month, I am really embracing my womanhood and my power to be able to do it all. I
Yeah,
may not do it all right now, but I will
that's
do it
right.
all. And that's why I
Yes.
wanted to join you today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Woo! That was one way to get things started, right? How does that song? Let's get this party started.
Woohoo!
Do we hear
Yeah, let's do
do
it,
we hear
girl.
our little soundtrack there? Yeah,
Woohoo!
exactly. Let's just give it to her. That's good stuff. Caitlin, share with me and our ladies and everyone out there a little bit about you.
Yes, so first I want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this talk and to be surrounded by all of you incredible women. So, my name is Caitlin, and my life calling is advocacy. I work in court with abused children, and I stand beside them during some of their worst moments as their advocate. And I make sure that their voices do not get lost in the legal and justice system and also in the social services system. And, I found that as a young woman, people were not really listening to me when I was trying to find more child advocates because we really don't have enough where I live in Virginia. And so I thought, well, how can I find more child advocates? And so I thought, hey, maybe I'll compete in a pageant because what better platform for young women where we're able to have an incredible sisterhood and female empowerment. And so I was really, really lucky to be able to win Miss Virginia. And so I've been able to spend my year teaching children how to not only be their own advocates, but I've been able to find more child advocates across my state and across our country. And it's really, really important to me because I've gone through trauma myself, and I don't want anyone to ever feel like their voice doesn't matter or that they can't speak up for themselves. And so Yeah, but I'm here today because
Hugging you, loving you. Yes,
thank you.
yes.
But I'm here
Give
today
it to
because
her. Give it to her. A girl that speaks for women and children. Yes.
thank you. But the work that I do aligns so much with our beautiful Miss Woman United States. And so I'm so inspired by her beautiful soul. And so it's such an honor.
The honor is all ours.
Thank you.
I'm still
so
with
awesome.
you on that. To think that you are using your voice to speak for children that can't.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
awesome, Caitlin.
Thank you. Okay. Everybody know that I'm a sensitive human being. Raise your hand if you can relate.
You're strong. You're strong.
And that is okay.
Okay,
Embrace the
Stephanie.
emotions.
How else are you going to pull the tears right out of my eyes? Come on, bring it out. Let me just wipe it out.
Well, hello, I am Stephanie. I am a spiritual lifestyle mentor. I started on my journey after I was diagnosed with herpes about 3 years ago. So I really help women feel more confident after an STI diagnosis and really accepting themselves instead of embracing the shame that society likes to put on women who like to embrace their sexual energy. So that is what I bring to the table. And I'm super excited to be here with all of you beautiful souls today.
Oh,
Wow.
that's amazing, because I think for years there's been so much oppression with female sexuality and just such a double standard in our worlds with men and women, and where we stand in a place of trying to be equal and knowing that desires come from humans, no matter what frame you're putting them in. But to
Yeah.
smize them and put them in a box. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for standing up for that. Yeah.
Of course. It's awesome. I love it.
Jeanette, bring us home. Wrap us up.
Ooh, the pressure.
No
Hi.
pressure. No
Hi,
pressure.
ladies.
Just
Hi,
be you.
everybody watching. I'm Jeanette Vanderpool, and I am a school district administrator. I oversee all of special education for all secondary and adult students. And so my work is all about making an inclusive environment for those living with disabilities that you can notice right away, and those hidden disabilities, and making life and the world and sports more accessible to them. But also within that, since I am a principal and a district administrator for the high school levels, really empowering women and boys, girls and boys, men and women, about finding their path and having their type of goal that they want to have in life, the kind of life that they want to lead, and having them experience a bunch of different jobs so they can figure out what they like, what they don't like, what kind of life is it that they want to have. And really I'm a mom of 4, so I've given birth to 3. I have my wonderful bonus son. I was in a horrible marriage for 18 years, and I finally escaped that. And now I'm married to the love of my life and my soulmate, Matt, who's my knight in shining armor. But if I hadn't aligned myself with a career pathway that allowed me to support the children that I gave birth to on my own, I wouldn't have been able to escape that and find that strength. So I really, really want to just reach out to girls and guys too, but that you have a plan before you put yourself in a position that you have to support yourself and others, but just a really life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel that with you. I think one of the well, let's see, maybe I shouldn't assume this. How many
I'm
of you
interested.
have felt fear about not being enough and not being able to take care of yourself or your children? And that part of that not being enough is enough financially.
Oh yeah, all the
Yeah.
time.
And how
Mhm.
many choices have we made because we were scared? And
Many.
right.
Mhm.
So like maybe that's where we start. Like, let's start with you, Stephanie. What do you brave each day to overcome, being scared and you're not enough syndrome, not enough itis, call it.
Yeah, I think really after I came out publicly about having herpes and started talking about my diagnosis more and more, I really just started to embody the energy that the only person's opinion about me that matters was my own. So the more I try to focus on, okay, how do I want to show up today? How do I want to feel? Rather than, okay, how do I want the world to view me as? That's really impacted me and feeling like societal stigma's pressure on me too.
Well, okay, let's talk about that one. Societal
Mhm.
pressures. So what is your societal pressure? What do you feel pressured by? And is that
Yeah.
like something that because of something that you saw growing up? Is that, what is yours? What is your pressure?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's a lot of just like conditioning of how the world portrays women are supposed to show up in society, right? Like how you were saying after I first introduced myself, how women aren't supposed to be these sexual beings and these beautiful goddesses who have this flowing energy about them. It's meant like hide that behind closed doors
Right.
and only allow certain people to see that side of you.
Right. God forbid we are looked at like, yeah, I'm, I mean, can I say this? I'm feeling horny, baby. I'm feeling horny, baby.
I'm feeling horny, baby.
Like, raise your hand if, like, I mean, are guys the only ones that are like, ah, you know what I mean? We all have our own appetite, right? And our own frame of what we want to be, passion and love and our desires. I mean, as women, we're able to create that in spaces of like being a mom or,
Mhm.
being a caretaker to our role. I always call them the roles that we play in our life,
Yeah.
but what does that look like when no one's looking, and how often are we truly showing up for who we really are, whether someone's looking or not, you know? How
Right.
does that affect you, Jeanette, in your world?
So I have, as I think as we get older and more mature, your circle gets smaller, right? So I can say
Yeah.
that I have legitimately 5 friends, but they're all my best friends, and then I have a bunch
Yeah.
of acquaintances. So with that group, it's fun. It's fun. We don't need we don't need wine in our hands,
Yeah.
absolutely like talk about that kind of stuff. And I'm also like on another like on a Facebook group that I think it's called Girls Just Want to Have Fun, and it is so raunchy and funny, and it just says everything like that everybody's thinking. But what I was also thinking about what Stephanie had said, and I'm thinking about like the high school girls that I work with, and just people that they do end up with an STD is because they're so afraid to have these
Mhm.
conversations about what sex is. What are all the different kinds of sex? How can you get an STD? What is an STD? Oh, what do you use for protection? Oh, I use this. Oh, I don't like that brand. Like it's just not out there. And trust me, I grew up so naive about sex.
Yeah.
I
We
Should I
just weren't
share
talking
this?
about
I'm
it.
looking at my husband wondering if I should share this. Okay, I'm gonna share this.
Tell him to go in the other room.
There you go.
Time to go golfing, honey.
They don't want to hear
This
this
is-
stuff.
No.
I didn't know. I'm gonna share this. Girls need to know this. I wasn't like I was 15 or 16 when I started to use tampons, like because I was playing soccer and I wanted to use those instead. Didn't know how it worked. I didn't know that there are 3 holes until I was 16.
Right. I
And
mean, this
so-
and this is what girlfriends discover in a conversations. That's why it's so
I know this
important
is
for
a
girls
women's
to
group,
talk.
so I feel
Right.
comfortable talking about that.
Yeah.
So, but that is, I mean, that absolutely connects to like what you're saying. Like there needs to be that awareness. We need to have that conversation. Like this is real. And the most real thing that you can do is have a kid. So anything that we can talk about, like these young girls and young men about, like this is really the reality. You can get an STD or you can have a kid. Like we need to.
Well, I also think that you can also have a lot of pleasure in it too. It doesn't have to
Exactly.
be like
Exactly.
it's only
Yes,
STD
sorry, I
or a
didn't-
kid.
Yes,
Like, you can also enjoy it.
as an adult. Yeah, as a teacher. Yeah, no.
Well, but and that, the one thing that we have to really understand is part of what's going on now with women that are embracing what the women before us in our history have done. The work's been laid down. We've had some really powerful female energies that have done some work for us and paved the way for, being empowered. I mean, I was raised by a family of women. And so I'm really such a big cheerleader of women and all of our differences. And I share that because, today, the women that we get to be isn't like the women that used to be 50 years ago.
Yes.
About that, right? We get to have these conversations about our sexuality, and we are not getting married as young. We are, some of us are not having children, that we're taking different roads that would be stereotyped as untraditional, whatever that means, right? And so as a result of that, we need to learn how to do things differently. And that means having conversations about what our sensuality means and what it means to be a single empowered woman, what it means to use protection and to initiate those conversations, and how to have that sort of independence in our life without just being a married woman that's a mom and, staying home primarily to take care of her family, right? Is anyone in this table doing that? Are we all stay-at-home moms?
I don't have any children.
Well, and now look at that. If we were having this conversation 50 years ago, the reality of everybody raising their hands would have been different. So I salute
Absolutely.
you all for allowing your paths to be carved out differently because of the women we are celebrating today within ourselves and the women that laid down those foundations so that we could have these different destinations to go to, right?
Amen to that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Sure.
My mother actually, when I turned 16, asked me if she could go back to work. And that was something that always stayed with me, was so impactful because she was a stay-at-home mom. And I was very grateful for that because she just gave me so many great life lessons. And she empowered me to be able to share my voice and my life and my goals and my dreams. And I said to her at a very young age, at 16, I said, Mom, you should do whatever you want to do. You want to go back to work. You should go back to work. If you've wanted to work this whole time, you should work. But she had a different story and a different background, and she didn't have all those. She didn't have the opportunities that we have today. But that really stayed with me, and I think it's because of her, and of course my dad too, really empowered me to dream all my dreams and to work towards accomplishing all of those. And I want to add to that, if you don't mind, I want to add to the sex talk that we're talking about in sex and relationships, and I think it's a really important. My story is a little bit different, and I truly believe in having that relationship with yourself and that self-care so that you can have a great sex life and have a great relationship with yourself and with your significant other, and to have fun doing it. But my background, comes from a place of having overcome a sexual abuse at a young age that led to an eating disorder and self-hate for a number of years. So I think there's also an evolution that many women go through, because that story is very common, sadly. It's so common. A lot of us have overcome some sort of molestation or sexual abuse that transformed us to be the women that we are today, and to have to go through so many hurdles to be able to have the sexual freedoms and the abilities to have these types of conversations today. So, I know, Joanna, you have your own story too of that, and it's impactful to have gone through that, and to be able to, for me to finally share this story. I just started sharing it realistically about a year and a half ago, really sharing it, and it's freed me and allowed so many more doors to open, and allowed me to be able to have these types of conversations and not be shy about it. So I think
Well,
that's
thank you
another
for sharing.
element. Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so interested to know, and I don't want us to get us off topic, but Janice and Joanna, like, what is the amazing, strong women that you are now? And I'm putting my psychologist hat on now. What is that intangible? What is it that has allowed you to become the survivors and successful women, both emotionally and spiritually, and in as far as your careers? What do you think that is? Is it faith? Is it grit? Is it because you had other loving people around you? Was there just always something in your head that allowed you to overcome instead of succumb?
Absolutely. Do you want me to go first and you go second because you're the host? You can.
Yeah, no. We are the host and we are creating this. So you guys all go for it. Go for it, Janice. Go for it.
Well, the first thing that came to mind is faith. Faith is what got me through everything. I didn't have faith in myself, but I had faith in God. So that was my first and foremost, the backbone to anything and everything that I do is my faith in God, and having great parents, having great family that, through all the bullying and the issues that I had growing up in a small town that had a lot of stigma around not only beauty pageants, but also beauty and powerful women and anything and everything that we could talk forever about it. But it was having strong parents. It was having self-care and allowing my voice to be heard through my family. And then ultimately my husband, and meeting my husband, who was the one man outside of my dad that listened to me and loved me for who I am, and allowed me to be who I am, faults and all. And I think it was through that trilogy, so to speak, of the three strong parts of my life: my faith, my family, and my self-healing over time, allowed me to be the strong woman that I am today, and sharing my pain and making it a purpose, which is why I'm so much into that right now. Your pain comes there for a reason. We all have different pains, and that they all drive us to what we're supposed to do. And that's what helped me. That's the baseline for what helped me become the strong woman that I am today, and to have healed.
Yeah. And what is so beautiful about being able to be with all of you in this space is that we can listen to each other's stories and either go, yeah, I totally relate, or for me, that was the total opposite. And not be right or wrong, but to just be in love with this, in love with the fact that we can all share, right, our differences. And for me, I didn't have a family that was traditional mom and dad. I was raised, I always say, by three moms: my grandma, my aunt, and my mom. And all three of them were very powerful and empowered by their own right. But they were all hurting. They were all very scared, and they were all surviving in a space of, I'm going to be the head of household because I don't have a choice. I'm going to, raise my two daughters because I don't have a choice. It's me or nobody, right? And we are going to celebrate every holiday because that's what we do. We're family, right? And so it was different. And with that being said, not only was I raised by three women that were wanting me, this little girl, to have the very best of everything, So that was kind of confusing because what they each thought was the best for me was different. And they all were giving me what they believed was their best from the golden parts of their heart, because they were scared that I would ever get hurt or anything would ever happen badly to me, and or that I was not going to be okay. And so I felt a lot of that fear, not because I think they intended to put that on me, because back then it wasn't as prevalent as it is today to go to therapy, to get support systems, to, do you know what I'm saying? Talk outside of your home about what was going on, right? And so I lived in a frame of, you never talk about what leaves this house. And if anything is behaved poorly, we are loyal, we are a family. And so therefore there was a lot of indecency and cycles of abuse that were transmuting in a space where I didn't even realize until I broke out of that bubble. And it took for me moving out on my own and just realizing that sensation. I just got to get out of here. I don't agree with some of those things. And it wasn't necessarily to make them wrong. I just was becoming my own woman.
Right.
And I was experiencing life going, oof, I'm not scared of that. And I don't feel that way. And I'm not having that experience. And I'm right. And so for me, I feel like that began my journey, is when I finally was like, oh,
You're evolving.
I was raised in a Catholic church, going to Catholic school every day. And for a long time, I had to realize, like, but that doesn't feel right for me.
Right.
It doesn't mean I don't respect that. But I just, when I left my little bubble in Chicago and moved to this big space in California, I got to learn how many different people there were that all came from different spaces. They all had different upbringings. They all had different stories. And for me, one of the stories that was looping in my head was, you're a whore if you have sex before you get married. You're a fucking whore.
I can relate so much.
Yeah.
Where have you been all night? Where have you fucking been all night? Are you a fucking whore?
Wow.
Right? And I don't think that the person that loved me meant to sound like that just sounded, but you felt that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that was how I was spoken to. And and now looking back, I would say to my mom, why did you say that? And she's like, I just didn't want you sleeping with a bunch of people. I didn't want anything bad happening. I was afraid and I didn't know what to do. And so for her, putting that fear on me made her feel like she could control things, you know, and I know what that feels like. I have an 18-year-old daughter. I have a 15-year-old daughter. I have a 22, you know what I mean? And I know that feeling when your kids leave the house and you're like, they're making good. I hope they're using protection. I hope they're talking about things, right? And so these things that come up are real, but we really don't realize how they are molding us and making us feel. So as far as, you know, my first, you know, sexual relationship, well, that was tough because I didn't grow up with a lot of male energy. And the one that I had was a violating one. And I had a stepdad that, you know, drank a lot of alcohol and got a little aggressive and violent. And I saw a lot of interactions, loving interactions that were fighting.
Yeah.
People showed each other that they loved each other by fighting.
So much toxic energy.
As I got older, I had to disassociate from that so that I could learn a different way.
Yeah.
And so today, when I'm raising my kids, boy, there's not a day that does not come up where I couldn't easily yell at my kids and be like, F this, F that. And believe me, they'll be the first to be like, oh, you do, you know, because it's very easy for me to translate and just keep that cycle going and passing that conversation on to my kiddos. But as the woman that I want to be today, in order for me to break barriers, in order for me to talk about tough things and to decide to do things that ordinary people don't usually do. I've got to separate myself from those belief systems
Mm-hmm.
because I truly believe that some of those belief systems manifested some of the toxic relationships in my life
Yes.
and the trauma that occurred with my daughter. I think my fear was creating that, whether I was conscious or not. And it wasn't until those broken open moments where I was like,
Yeah,
what?
what you focus on is what you receive, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you realized, you know, paralyzed, like, okay, phew,
Yeah.
something's got to change here.
Hmm.
And it's not to be upset or to blame or to shame or to hate the people that were in our lives that, you know, taught us things, but rather to understand because they're human too. And I think understanding and compassion, you know, by
Yes.
listening to other people,
Mm-hmm.
like you can't really judge a book or until you've walked into someone's shoes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what someone's gone through. And, you know, trauma is a game changer.
Mm-hmm. It forces you to be strong.
Yeah.
And we all experience it on some level
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
do.
Just because what may be a big trauma to me may be very insignificant to somebody else. And it's like, well, who am I to say that that's a big trauma and that's a little trauma? If that's a trauma for you, then I honor you for feeling whatever you feel with that.
Yeah. I mean, so like, look at it this way, you know, the way that I choose to frame things now is to use different words. So rather than say, what are you afraid of? Right? Because I know that fear and talking about my fear doesn't feel good or feel empowering. So rather than frame a question like, what are you afraid of? Caitlin, what do you brave each day in your life as the woman that you are now?
Every single day, I brave the anxieties and my past that my trauma brought to me. And I can look it in the eye now and say, I beat you. And you don't have control of me over anymore. And I took that pain and I said, that's not the end of my story. And actually now I'm
Amen.
helping other people and make sure that they know that's not the end of their story either. Because
Say
you are
that again.
you are not
Say that again.
defined. It's not the end of your story. And you are never defined. You are never defined by your trauma or by your worst moments. You are what you choose to become from that.
Yeah.
Very good.
I
I
always
always
say-
like to
Love
say
that.
you can hit people with a plot twist anytime you want.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's the
I
game
love that.
changer. That's the difference
Yeah.
maker. When we, you know, when we frame our now
Mm-hmm.
with words that empower what it is we're doing, we leave that fear, that
Yeah.
past, and we become now and better, you know, for times to come. And that doesn't mean that maybe from moment to moment we're not braving something. You know, I know I am. But what do
Every
you
day.
brave, Jeanette? What do you brave?
What do I brave? Well, one of the things that I like to always say, think and tell my students and my kids and everybody, you can always have a new first day of school. You can always have a new first day. It's always about what, if you learned, even if I had done something that I regret, the important part is that I regret it and I'm not going to do it again, because actions speak louder than words, right? It's a professional growth opportunity. It's a personal growth opportunity. And I can't let myself get dragged down in I wish I would have done it this way. And while I can think that, I need to say, okay, now I'm going to be stronger and better for it. I'm going to treat people better because of it. And so always just continuing to move forward is something and just getting up every morning and trying to make a difference when you're not seeing differences being made. And forgiving is something that I struggle with. It's not, I don't believe in, and it's all about defining terms, right? Because what do terms mean to specific people? I don't believe in forgiveness. I believe in, I acknowledge that you say you're sorry. I'm going to choose to move on from this now, and we can move forward in a positive way. But I will be and then you can prove to me that you won't do it again.
But what about when forgiveness becomes a personal vendetta? Meaning, forgiveness is more for you than them. How do you ascertain that?
Well, I would have to define it in situation. So I have a doctorate in psychology, so I'm thinking maybe I'm like getting like too deep into it. But when it becomes about for them, I guess it would depend on the act. So, my father was an alcoholic. He's 13 years sober now. It was a very traumatic experience because he was one of those, what you call a functional alcoholic. Like, we just didn't know. He was just my fun dad. We're a boat family. We're always out on the lake. And, I would have drinks with my dad and over when I was 21. And, but it was a very traumatic experience when we all found out, because when he got a DUI and had to go to prison, and I had to go bail him out, and he was very drunk and going through detox, and there's spiders all over the floor.
I mean, but those are real deal things. Like we as
Exactly.
humans, we all want to like come out polished looking, but the reality is we are all simultaneously experiencing something that people are not realizing about us, period.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are real deal things.
Yeah. And then so I have the situation where I've been truly able to forgive him for just like there was a trauma that I was put into as a child, right? Because I had to go and you had to go and save your parent. I had to go and save my parent. I truly forgive him for certain things that surrounded that because of his actions and his forgiveness. I mean, his seeking forgiveness and trust in God and all of that kind of stuff. But he sought it and he changed. And that gave me what I needed in order to forgive. But I think if he had not gone that route and just acted like, yeah, well, you're my kid, you're there to bail me out of prison, and I'm just going to continue on this, then seeking forgiveness on my end would be selfish. But then I would have to choose, is this a path, is this a relationship that I want to continue, or is this a relationship that I just need to move on from? I wish you the best. If there's an emergency, call me, but separating. So
boundaries, creating boundaries in your life is what I'm hearing. Creating healthy boundaries. Boundaries. Raise your hand if learning how to create personal boundaries has not been a game changer in your life. And understanding that relationships, we don't have control of many components in relationships. As far as my experience with forgiveness, I remember my daughter was raped by the same person that beat the heck out of me and changed my life forever. And I didn't find out that that this happened to her until after I'd ended the relationship.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a double whammy. It was like my first whammy was, experiencing him. And then the second whammy was about a year later when I got to experience that someone had, hurt my child. And one of the attachments that I had to release could only be released from an energy called forgiveness. And I had to really understand what that meant fully. And here's what it sounded like. Joanna, I forgive you. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry for all of the things that you've been through. You were doing the very best that you could. You didn't know. Because if you would have known, you would have done different, right? But you did the very best that you could do with the tools you were given. And it doesn't define you as a person. It doesn't make that the story of your life. But now you know some things. And as you forgive yourself for all of those experiences, you will be able to do great things as you depart. And so sometimes that forgiveness component we always think is about the other person.
Right.
That attachment is on our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's having that conversation with your own personal self, whatever. That was the one I had and still have many times a day sometimes when my triggers come up. But it was a conversation that I didn't realize because I always gave my power away and my pain and my attachment to that to someone else. So, you know, when you ask how did, you know, what are the different things that get people to different places in life and how we got there, it's like, yeah, we've got these little mosaics, you know, these
Right.
pieces of us that break off, and how we put ourselves back together after we've been broken open is really what people are getting to see from the light we're projecting through those cracks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And people might not always know the simultaneous conversations that are going on within us. But boy, you know, the things that we brave every day, they, I always used to say, wouldn't it be great if you could wear a t-shirt that said, I have anxiety today, back off. I didn't sleep tonight, go away, you know, or I've been traumatized, or I've been this, like, just so we could think about it, all the different signs that are available when you're driving. Detour,
Mm-hmm.
U-turn, or cliffs, unstable cliffs, right? We have all these warning signs all around our streets. But yet we have how many humans in our world today that are walking around without any symbol of what's going on?
Right.
We don't really know what happens when you interact with them.
Yeah. That would be great.
Yeah.
What would,
And I feel
Janice,
like a
what
lot of
would
people
your,
I feel like a lot of people walk around not wanting people to fully express themselves as well, because it makes them uncomfortable if somebody's like, "Oh, how's your day going?" and you're like, "Oh, I'm not really having a good day today." They're like, "What?" Like they weren't expecting you to say that. So it's like,
because we want to hear that
common
I'm
courtesy
good.
to be like, "Oh, I'm fine."
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
everybody
What
says,
would-
hi, how are you? Walk on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
I mean, think about it. If each of you were your own, you know, sign or t-shirt that said who you were, or what you would want people to know, what would your street sign or your t-shirt say?
I'm awesome.
I'm awesome. Okay. Yeah.
Besides Mama Needs Wine, it would be,
Exactly.
it would be, I'm not sure if I'm doing enough. Always, have never in my life, and I don't know if I ever will be, and maybe it's a good thing because it pushes you to be more. I don't know, but I've never felt like whatever I'm doing is enough. There's always something else. Oh, whether, I mean, in every caveat of life, like I could be cleaning this house better. I could be doing my job better. I could be a better mom. Oh my God, am I a good mom? Am I a good wife?
Mhm.
Little
Yeah.
friendships of just like little check-ins, which I don't get that much, but I do it to other people. Like, hey, missing you, I haven't seen you in a while. Like those little things, I just
They mean a
love.
lot.
But I
mean a lot, right?
They do, right? Like,
I think
hey,
mine-
you know, Wednesday at 11. Just thinking of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
I
mine
agree.
would be work in progress, because I think it's always a work in progress. I think we're always evolving as a person.
I like that. Work
Um,
in progress.
Work in progress. That's
Yeah.
what mine would be. So forgiveness and like what you said at the beginning, imperfection is, well, perfection. I think it's all about being who you can be authentically and allowing the flaws to shine through, because that's what makes us beautiful and what makes us human. And, you know, and I wanted to chime in on the forgiveness thing. Is it took me a long time to forgive the people that have hurt me in my life, especially a family member that hurt me. And what I can say about it is, for me, when I forgive other people, it allows me to forgive myself. I think that it's an important step in the healing process. when you forgive others, it's not like what Joanna said, it's not about you. It's not about them, it's about you and your healing process. And when you're allowed to forgive, you let go. And when you're allowed to let go, you let God. And when you
Mm.
let God, you transform and you evolve and you become
Mm.
a better person. So for me, forgiveness is a healing stepping stone. So, and I'm not perfect by any means, and it's hard to forgive. And sometimes you have triggers, and
Right.
triggers can cause you to have that feeling of emotion of
Yeah.
when you were hurt. And then you start remembering other people that hurt you because you were still a work in progress, right? So I've just learned that I have to just let that because I already have enough on my shoulders and I have to let that one go so that I can continue to carry the load that I have now. So that's worked so much for me in my healing process, and then it allows me to forgive myself for my many imperfections, so that I can move forward. It's a slow process, but it's a process.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. And it's also what feeds your why today for both of you,
Mhm.
and gives, for all of us, I shouldn't say for both, but just all of us. I mean, we all have those moments in our life that have created some triggers for our now.
Mhm.
And it is in those moments when we are triggered, we get to show up for ourselves and do the work.
Mhm.
And that work has become the work of my life. And I can see it and hear it from all of you, that it is what is channeling through each of you and giving you such a purposeful life today, because you understand how important it is to stand with somebody and to hold space for someone, to be a voice and stick up, for the rights that are being violated sometimes.
Mhm.
And we don't just get that from not experiencing things.
Mhm.
Right?
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Caitlin, what would your sign or your shirt say? What would yours share?
My shirt would say that you're more than your story and you are enough. And if I could tell only one thing to everyone across the world, it would also be that is that you are more than your story and you are more than enough.
That's good stuff. So, Stephanie, what would yours be?
I'm trying to think because there's so many. It depends on the day for me, if I'm being honest, right? Like one day it
Absolutely.
might say I'm awesome. The next day it might say I wish I was in my house hiding. Like, so it really all depends on the day for me.
Oh, and that's so important, and I've heard this from kind of all of us, is that we're not just one way. We're
Yeah.
multidisciplinarians, right? We're multi-purpose. And our feelings are not right or wrong, and they don't define us. They're ever changing, just like what? Like we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right. So here's this question then. What are those moments? Those moments that you just get to have with yourself, where maybe you're getting out of the shower and you're, checking yourself out in the mirror, or you're all ready for, something great, and you're checking yourself and you have that moment where you're like, you look good. Like, how do you self-love on yourself? How do you check yourself out? What are your good feels? What are your best cheerleader moments for you? And what does that talk check sound like? Caitlin,
Mine,
take it away. Yeah,
yeah.
go for it.
So I feel like my best self when I am empowering others and helping others. And really, I told you guys at the beginning, I'm an advocate. And so my heart and my soul just feels so on fire when I'm able to really empower others and lift up other people and to, make sure that nobody ever feels less than. And I think that's what really life's just all about is making sure that everybody is okay and that we're all standing up for each other and we're all coming together when we really need it the most.
No, one of my platform is love.
Yes.
And my why is because I do believe in peace, love, and unity. And I know that sounds like an old school hippie slogan, but I do believe it is one that is universal and never ever going to fade.
That's what
Because
we love about you.
That's
Yeah.
right. When we are in love, we are
Yes.
feeling peace within. And when we are
Yes.
feeling peace within, we're united with ourselves. And when we
Yes.
feel that way, we can show up for other people.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, you know, and I don't feel like you can do all those things without each other.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you know, when you are leaving court, Caitlin, and you are feeling that empowerment because you were able to channel that energy, what does that sound like in your head? What are you saying to yourself?
I'm thinking I did it. And oh my gosh, I'm so proud of how far I came. Because honestly, one of the most remarkable moments in my life was, and this is very personal, but, you know, right after everything came out about my trauma, I had somebody say to me, you know, you're not what happened to you, and you are what happens from you from this day forward. And that was
Yeah,
actually,
say that again.
you are
You
what
are not.
happens to you from this day forward. You're not your trauma. And so it was in that moment after the worst time in my life that I knew that I was going to take that pain and I was going to make it my power. So every single time I walk out of court, and every single time I open up a new case file, and every single time I sit down with a child who has been hurt, I think, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself, because it's really, really hard to overcome trauma. And so I think we should all congratulate ourselves and give
Right.
ourselves a pat on the back, because it's hard, okay?
It's not
Don't
easy. You're right.
let anyone
No.
ever undermine you, you know, never. You know, we're warriors and we're badass women, okay?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Amen.
And those are the voices we need to remember more and more and more. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's
right
so
on, sister,
important
right
for
on.
it's so important for other women to see people like you and how they
Thank you.
can just
Mhm.
move forward, right? Like, you are not
Yeah.
defined by that. You were a person before and you're a person after. And
Yeah.
a great person, and they can be okay. People need those
Mhm.
positive examples, because if you don't have them, then you just think that it's a worst case scenario. People always want to go to the worst.
Yeah.
Well, and what is it for you, Jeanette? Like, when, you know, think about it. If the world sees the end result of Jeanette, what are they not seeing? What, share with us the things that people might be seeing on the surface as effortless and strong and empowered, but what is the vulnerability factor within, and what are you sharing with yourself, those voices, after you know, leave a great board meeting, or after you've conquered a battle for a child through our education system, or put on your mom hat and just got it done? Like, what does that sound like in you?
I could have done better. I'm not one of those people. And that is, I come off as I'm not an emotionally outward type of person. And Janice knows me a little. She was my pageant. When I was Mrs. Arizona, United States. She was my pageant coach and my little bit of my life coach. So got to know me a little bit. But I am my own worst enemy, as I believe we all can be our own worst enemy or our own best friend. Right. And I did grow up with thinking that I was supposed to be a certain way, meaning, like at the beginning of this show, I was supposed to be the varsity athlete because my dad didn't have boys, and my parents are amazing, but I had to be the amazing athlete, the amazing scholar, beauty queen, and then the wife and mother and all that. So I've always had very high levels of perfectionism. And so that is a huge struggle for me. Like, I don't look in the mirror and think, dang, you're looking good today. I don't do
Never,
that.
never.
Not,
Come on.
No. I mean, like, I look okay. I'm like, oh, that's okay. Yeah. Okay. But I'm very critical. I am very critical. And I wish, and like being your friend and listening to you and you know, hearing all this, I want to one day just have you know, doing a good job. At my end of my life, I just want to raise happy people. I want whatever, and you know, happy is so broad, but I just want my children to be happy, and I'm trying to and want to be a good example for that.
Mm.
Yeah, come on in, Janice. Go for it.
No, I was just going to say, and Jeanette, you are an amazing woman, and you all are. I'm just blown away by your passion and your advocacy and everything that all of you do. And Jeanette, you know that you are enough. I think you, like all of us, myself included, we have imposter syndrome. We don't think that we are enough, or that we're not capable of doing the things that we do. And I think it's a very common thing in perfectionism. We all want to be the best that we can be. And so, and speaking to that, you are doing amazing things, and we have to have that element of self-love, that we are patting ourselves on the back and saying, you did a good job. You are a good and faithful servant, and you did the right things. And of course you want more, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to celebrate the little victories. And
Right.
And it's tough, because I think as women, and I think it's especially women that have overcome trauma, and all of us have, and pretty much everybody on this planet has overcome some sort of trauma, some of us more than others. And I don't know the why behind that. I know one day I'll know the why behind it, I guess. But it's hard to look at ourselves and see past the trauma, past the ugliness of things that have happened in our lives. And it's an exercise of faith to be able to do that, even though it is not easy at all. We have to learn to celebrate that victories. And I'm, of course, preaching to myself as well. I'm telling myself this as well, because I look in the mirror, and there were times that my motivation wasn't pure. My motivation was, I'm going to show them. I'm going to tell them. I'm going to be this person. I'm going to be that person. And the motivation was wrong. It was all about, I'm going to show you that hurt me, the people that bullied me, the people that hurt me, the person that really hurt me when I was 10. I'm going to show you one day. And when I finally let go of that, I'm going to show you, and it's going to be about, I'm going to heal me instead of I'm going to show you. And it came from a place of, I'm going to heal me and not worry about the people that hurt me. That's when I was finally able to look in the mirror and love myself.
Yeah, that's the game changer. That's the moment.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I
Stephanie.
need to be better about practicing what I preach.
Right.
I can talk it,
Action.
I can help people, and I will be
Amen.
there, but then digesting it and reflecting it for myself, that would be that's a barrier.
Yeah.
You can do it. You can.
Thank you.
What would you say to that, Stephanie?
For me, I love to take time to do little things for myself every single day. Like yesterday, I bought myself flowers just because I wanted to celebrate the week that I had. Something that I love to do to connect with my body is after the shower, I love to take a good smelling lotion and just rub it on my stomach and just look at myself in the eyes. What's that?
Mm-hmm. Those little instant pleasures.
Yeah. And just rub the lotion in on my body and just be I love you so much. Thank you for everything that you do for me, and really just show myself gratitude, because to me, if I'm not showing up for myself the way that I want my future husband to show up for me, or if I have children to see me handling myself, then that's what's most important to me. It's showing up for myself first.
I love that.
What you're sharing right now is such a beautiful energy of what women today are doing to change the language and the cycle.
Yeah.
When we share the energies of not feeling enough, and I shared threw some F-bombs out earlier of how conversations would come at me, and that is just that. It's old energy.
Yes.
It's old energy.
Yep.
And it's the same old energy that is attached along with all those things in our heart that block us, that paralyze us, that change the way we do business with ourselves by the way we're talking and we're responding to our own mind chatter. And when we can really understand that, gosh, each and every one of you said it to some extent. So I'm just going to be really reiterating what you guys have shared. When we really understand that it's not about what someone else did. we can't compare ourselves to anyone else because there's no one else like us. So I can compare myself to Caitlin because we might have some things that we have in common. But at the end of the day, Caitlin is a totally different DNA. She's been raised by different people. She's done different things. So she's going to show up energetically and look and feel totally different than Joanna. Neither one is better or worse, but we are all able to give ourselves pure joy. Take a shower, rub lotion on your body and say, I love you. That's a start. And those are things that, you know, we weren't talking about doing this 50 years ago. Women were not talking about that. But we
and
are.
Look yourself in your eyes when you're doing it too. Like make that
We are.
connection
Not
with
only are
yourself.
we, not only have women of our history done some work and shown up and shown us that we can get an education, that we can be the head of our household, that we can raise our children with or without a man, that we don't even have to raise children. We can be an independent woman. We can have sexuality, and it could be with the man in the moon or 20 women, women cows. I don't even know. It could be whatever we want. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's the beauty of understanding humanity, is that we as women today have a choice. We have a lot of choices, and it is because of the women that came before us, that held down, that felt, that allowed themselves to be important and to have value, right? And would you not agree that we want to not only continue to raise ourselves this way? And when I say raise ourselves this way, it is because we realize that we are the parents of ourselves.
Amen.
Yeah. And we get to raise ourselves the way we want to. And if we want to transfer on old traditions and carry on old belief systems, we can. But I don't know about you. I learned that without making someone wrong, that what someone else believed might not fit me.
Right.
And so part of my empowerment is understanding what feels good for me and understanding that I have the power to do little things like rub lotion on myself and make myself feel good. And I don't need someone else to do that for me.
Yep.
And I don't need to show up to do it to prove a point or to prove that I'm better or that I'm enough, because it's those conversations within my own head that are my game changer. And sometimes you won't even hear the conversations I have in my head. Well, lately I post a lot. It's a lot of the conversations in my head. But I think that in itself is a beautiful thing. By sharing our vulnerability, we then get to influence and say, it's okay if you're having these conversations in your head too.
Yep.
Have them too. And when we don't feel alone, we just don't feel alone. We then feel supported. So with that being said, if you could see yourself as a thumbprint, crime scene investigation, and there's thumbprints everywhere. There's DNA everywhere. Okay. What thumbprints are you leaving in life? What do your thumbprints look like? What do your thumbprints look like on the lives of others and on the life you're creating? Stephanie, go for it.
Yeah, for me, just really helping people feel more comfortable with their sexual energy and not feeling any shame around their STI diagnosis. Allowing themselves to embrace whatever pleasure brings them pleasure, right? Like, who cares what anybody else thinks? If it brings you pleasure, go for it and enjoy it.
So be you. Be you.
You, yes.
Be you. Yeah.
Whoever that is.
Thank you, because as a woman that really was raised to believe that sex was dirty, it took me a long time to know, from a place of knowing and from personal acceptance, that sex with someone that you love can be a beautiful experience and it doesn't hurt. can feel good and it can feel free, and that there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with enjoying it. So thank you for leaving those thumbprints, because it is women like you that help me understand that I'm okay for enjoying myself.
My pleasure.
Janice, what is your thumbprint? What do your fingerprints look like on life?
Well, my first instinct was to say, I'm hoping it leaves a thumbprint of a crown, but that's just because I'm a pageant coach. I always want to leave a legacy behind, but of course I'm just trying to make a little bit of humor there.
Of course, yeah.
But my thumbprint is, I think that's sort of in a way spot on. The crown is really what's in your heart. It's being able to share your story and define your story and feeling as if you are everything that you wanted to be, and that you are enough, and that you have the ability to share your light and your love with others, whether that is whether you are pursuing a career, pursuing a crown, or pursuing self-care. And my thumbprint is one of nurture. I've been told many times by my friends and my family that I love to help. I stop and I want to help others along the way, whether if I'm hiking and I see someone that stopped, I want to help. I want to be the nurturer. I want to be the mother. I want to be the lover and the helper. And I think that's why I enjoy doing what I do and being an empowerment coach and life coach and pageant coach. And I think it's because I want to leave a thumbprint of that someone loves you, and that someone cares for you, and that your next steps can be taken because I will hold your hand. And so my thumbprint is one of nurturing and love.
Beautiful thing.
Love that.
I can't imagine what life would be like if we didn't know we were loved at least by somebody.
Yeah.
So thank you for letting people know in your life that you love them, because that's a powerful energy, is to support someone. How about you, Caitlin?
I really, really like this question. And I think it's because we can think about it all the time. We don't just have to think about it right now, but we can think about it all through life and think, is this what I want to be doing? And is this what I want to be sharing with the world? And so I think it's a very good one. But right now, I think that the thumbprint that I'm leaving is, I want it to be one of strength and one of kindness. And I think because those two things are very, very important. And I think that being kind is strength in a lot of different situations, no matter what they are. And I know that that may seem very cliche, but, I grew up traveling all over the world with the military. I had probably 20 homes before I was even a teenager. And so I had to meet a lot of different people, and I was put in a lot of really hard situations. And then I've gone through a lot of different experiences that have shaped me and in the work that I do now. And so I can tell you the number one thing is kindness. And I think that if we can just continue to be kind to everybody and spread love, I think that really we can have a world that we all are proud of. And yeah, that's what I really do want to leave behind.
Thank you.
Love that.
We can never, I use this expression a lot with my kids. Bring a little sugar in my bowl. Give mama a little sugar. Pour a little sugar on me. And that sugar is always that love and kindness.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of different ways we can be, but when we sprinkle a little love and kindness on top, boy, that's what I think separates an experience from being an experience, and then one that's going to be remembered and meaningful. Jeanette, what do you think? What is your thumbprint?
My thumbprint would be grit, and that is my favorite word. And I think it applies to everything. It's that intangible that it's what keeps you going when there's nothing else that you can really identify that should keep you going. And it can be the the grit and the pursuit of love and giving love to others, the grit of finding happiness in the darkest of times, the grit in finishing that college degree or that vocational degree when you have all these things, outside barriers, but grit in having my children and my grandchildren eventually, and my friends around me and my family just know that I had that grit to never give up on them and that they were always loved. That I'll never give up on loving my family and making sure that they know that they were loved.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to look something up I want to end on this note. And I'm so grateful that you said that, because it really, I want to share with you one of my favorite poems. And it's called The Invitation. Oh no, we lost one.
Yeah, Janice had to go.
It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love for your children, your dream, and your adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you've been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from fear or further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or yours, without moving to hide or to fade, fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or yours, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if you are even telling the truth. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. Can you bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul? Can you be faithless and therefore trustworthy? I want to know if you can see beauty even when it's not pretty every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failures, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge and shout to the silver moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know, can you get up after a night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, to do what's needed to be done for the children? It doesn't interest me to know how you came here. I want to know if you can stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what you or whom you've studied, but I want to know what sustains you from the inside when everything else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments.
Beautiful.
So I'd like to end on that today and to just take a moment to just dwell in that space, knowing that we've created this here today. You girls could take a deep breath with me and take all that in, all that glory, all that gratitude, and all that purpose in this moment. To bless our hands so that when they touch, we know that it will be done with kindness. To bless our hearts and our words so that we know that when we express who we are and how we feel, it will be in truth and shared and received with love. To bless our minds and our bodies, that when we get to experience ourselves, it is from the most authentic space of being and knowing, because our intuition is gifted with the blessings of trust and forgiveness. I ask that we are blessed by our angels and that we all wear our crowns, the divine feminine energy crown of being, with light, with purpose, and with knowing that we are enough. We are more than enough. And slowly exhale back into this moment. Thank you so much, each and every one of you, for speaking easy with me with love. I hope this energy, this wellness, this wholeness, this love spills into every part of your life. Thank you for braving this moment with me. I love you.
Wonderful day. Thank you.
Stick your thumbprints everywhere, ladies.
Yes.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.